Hello everyone! So today we're going to be looking at the first video in Guns N' Roses trilogy, and the first video is called Don't Cry. So in the first frame we see this baby boy who has blue eyes lying on this red cloth. And it's pretty obvious that the baby is supposed to represent Axel, and whether or not it's supposed to be literally the baby version of him or just represent the idea of him as the time goes on, and that's unclear. But the baby is lying on a red cloth. And in the occult elite, that usually represents some sort of sacrificial ceremony. They are very symbolic, and they love to use their symbols. And so either red or a checkerboard floor, those are both very symbolic in sacrifices, and that shows up a lot in music videos and movies. And it's said also that within different sacrifices and within Satanism, they wear red leather shoes, red leather being made from human skin. But there's different rumors surrounding that. Some say it's that the blood won't show up on their shoes, but needless to say, it is important within the religion. And then the camera zooms in onto one eye of the baby, which is the one eye, the all-seeing eye, or the Eye of Horus. It's a very, very common symbol within the New World Order, within the occult elite, really within all of these different high evil groups of people. You then see a crow in the baby's eye, and a crow can symbolize transformation. And a crow can symbolize many different things, but I chose this meaning specifically because throughout the video, that seems to be the consistent theme. And seeing it in the eye could imply that all the rest of the video is in the mind of the child, and that all of these different events that are going on are really just this internal transformation, these internal goings-on, and they're not necessarily real events. You then see Axl Rose walking through the snow. He's freezing, dressed as in really medieval garb. I likened it to a prince. He's holding a wine bottle in one hand and a gun in the other hand, and the lyrics that are going on at the same time say, "Talk to me softly." So whenever there are lyrics at the same time as a picture shows, I put it down. It sometimes is relevant, and sometimes it is decipherable, sometimes it's not. So I put it there for the sake of me and for the sake of you, if you can figure out what it means. So I took the scene as he's dressed as a sort of royal, but he's freezing outside with a gun and a bottle of wine. That seems very opposite to each other, because he's a royal. You wouldn't be subjected to such extreme circumstances, and you certainly wouldn't have a bottle of wine and a gun in one hand. And it seemed to me similar to in Paradise City, when there was a lyrics and he likened himself to a court jester with a broken heart. And that's what it seems like in this. So I said possibly this image of himself as that he's depicting himself as could be what he feels is going on in his life, really, where he's freezing in this wilderness in his life. He's dressed up as a slave prince, he's a court jester, he's not to be taken seriously, even when everyone else, all of the public is taking him seriously. He really doesn't take himself seriously. And he only has wine to drink away his troubles or a gun to end them all, and we'll see in the next scene that he tries to end it all with a gun. He tries to shoot himself. His girlfriend, both in the video and in real life, stops him and he shoves her away. The lyrics say, "There's something in your eyes, don't hang your head in sorrow, and please don't cry. I know how you feel inside." So this obviously could point to real-life events because he did attempt suicide in a very similar time period. Or given the themes that we see in a lot of different music videos, this could be pointing to her being his MKUltra programmer. So a quick rundown on MKUltra is it is a government-run series of experiments and programs that have been trying to refine the art of brainwashing. It started in the 1940s when the U.S. brought over Nazi scientists in a kind of roundabout way, and no one else was supposed to know, but it did. The news did come out in the 60s or 70s, and where the MKUltra program, they would take kids, they would take homeless people kind of off the streets, inject them with drugs, try to brainwash them and mind control them. Really, the idea was trauma-based mind control, where you force the mind to split off into multiple personalities, multiple programmable personalities through just intense torture and trauma. And we see this a lot in celebrities nowadays, ever since really the 50s. So you have a programmer or a handler, and so the idea is that they're an enabler. So he wants to die because of everything going on, but she won't let him. So usually they'll pacify them trivially, but they will not let them die. They're enabling them. And so throughout the rest of the story, in the video we see, it seems as if she falls into place with other girls that are shown throughout the video as handlers who really work to destroy the band, but they won't let them be with anyone else, any other master or quote-unquote love, and we'll see that later. And so when you look at the lyrics, it seems as if it's the girl, the programmer, talking to Axel, where they say those sorts of things, trying to say, okay, I understand, it hurts, but they're trying to encourage their victims to dissociate, to just make the pain go away. And we'll see what that is a little bit further on. So then we see a shot of a painted green Axel, and he, in different interviews, has talked about it as like his demonic personality. He's underground, and then you see above ground is the normal Axel and his girlfriend picnicking in the cemetery. And the lyrics are, I've been there before. So, yeah, he and his handler, they're having lunch over his grave, which holds his altar persona. And so, it seems as if much of the song is pointing to getting the green underground Axel to rise up and then as the lyrics go on later, it says there's a heaven above you, which seems to talk about letting out this other programmable personality through dissociation, letting that one take over so that it can do its bidding. And I think it really is the programmable dirty persona, and that's why he colors it as a demonic persona, because when you have these slaves, these mind control slaves, and particularly with Axl Rose, there's a lot of evidence that seems to suggest he's a beta kitten, which is unfortunately a sex slave, so they'll force you to do all sorts of different sexual acts for their own. Usually it's to compromise different elites. There's a lot of different reasons for it, but if the person is aware of that alter persona, and that alter persona is doing things that the normal person would not want to do, you can start to think of that as dirty and maybe demonic. And so when you look at the lyrics, I've been there before, it perhaps is talking about all the times he has been programmed and tortured, and he has been forced to dissociate when he's been here and with that other personality. So then they're at the picnic, and they see this funeral procession of cars, and he sees Stephanie in one of the cars. The lyrics are, something is changing inside you, and don't you know? So it seems like he's stepping out of himself to witness his own funeral and alter Stephanie, because he and Stephanie are actually sitting there. So he's seeing another Stephanie, which seems like an act of dissociation, because usually that's depicted by you almost like an out-of-body experience and coming out of yourself. And so it could be some part of him dying, because it's for a funeral, it's his funeral. But it's really quite unclear. And they didn't even say how he died. So in the next scenes, you'll see him drowning at her hands, so it could be that's how. We just don't really know, but then you see her dragging him down into the water. It says, don't you cry tonight. I still love you, baby. It could be alluding to her dragging him down in life in just a more general sense, just a dead weight in his life, or her literally drowning him as a method of torture for his programming, because drowning is definitely a known method of torture in MKUltra. and you see multiple clips of him drowning. All the while they are playing "Don't You Cry Tonight, There's a Heaven Above You, Baby." So when it says there's a heaven above you, we see lights coming down from helicopters when you see them performing on this roof, which suggests the government is really staging the performance. And they are the heaven. They're really beckoning for him to dissociate, them being the heaven. And they're torturing him and asking him to, quote-unquote, cross over the rainbow. That's a very common phrase for dissociation from Wizard of Oz. Wizard of Oz is one of the main tools used for programming in history. So then we see Stephanie seeing him with another girl. She beats the girl. All the while, the rest of the band kind of laughs. It doesn't really take it seriously. And there's lyrics that say, "Give me a whisper and give me a sigh. Give me a kiss before you tell me goodbye. Don't you take it so hard now, and please don't take it so bad. I'll still be thinking of you and the times we had." So in this, she seems to be his handler, and she's trying to keep him away from any other masters or bring news of wisdom and nurture. And so in MKUltra specifically, I would say the great majority of the time, it's also infused with Satanism, Freemasonry, and so they do not want you to get any other source of wisdom from, say, especially Christianity. They are very, very against Christianity because that will undo the programming. And so it seemed odd to me that the rest of the band wasn't taking it seriously when a woman was getting beaten right in front of them, but they seem disoriented, and they were definitely on the handler's side, and they are just as programmed as Axel is, it seems. And once again, you see this helicopter over the band as they're performing on the roof, lighting them, and once again you have the chorus. So really it's the government overlooking their every move. They are the ones who are illuminating the band for everyone else to see. And then once again, dissociation because of the lyrics and because of the helicopters. You see then a girl, we don't know who she is, she throws this bottle at Duff, she's violent with him. She seems to be playing the same role as Axel's girlfriend, where they're really just destroying them, bringing them down, hurting them. A girl is basically being violent towards Slash while he's driving this car. He smiles, and he drives the car with the both of them off the cliff. So you see that each girl, each handler, if you may, is just out for the man's destruction, and so the only thing to do is kill the girl. That's the only way to get out of it, and in this case, he had to kill himself at the same time. That was the only way to get rid of her. But then you see him again. You see him after it. He's standing on the edge of the cliff. He's playing the guitar. Then he throws the guitar off the cliff and walks away, all the while saying, "And please remember that I never lied, and please remember how I felt inside now." So, if you take away the fact that he just killed himself and now he's here, if you take it on a more general level, it could be that he kills the handler, and he kills those influences, but in order to do that, he has to give up playing in the band, and so, really, it's that you can have one or the other. You can have fame and fortune, but you have to have the demons that go along with it, or you don't get the money, but you're not controlled and you're not tortured. Then you see this newspaper article flash across the screen at the same time as you see Axel in a hospital room that says "Hell Revisited." In a corner it says Hollywood, but it's showing a picture of some of them. And given the placement of it, it could be showing how it's foreshadowing how Axel in this next scene is Hell Revisited. Otherwise, it's talking about their life in Hollywood being Hell Revisited. And either way, they're almost interchangeable, actually. But then you see he is in a hospital room. He's disoriented. He seems kind of drugged out, actually. The lyrics going on is, "You got to make it your own way." If you look in the corner of the room, there's a crow, which is this. We saw a crow in the beginning in the baby's eye, appearing again as a beacon of his transformation, and we'll see why in this scene, because he's actually drugged and about to dissociate. He's about to split personalities, transformation. So we see these other versions of himself appearing. So he dissociated, they appear. And if you look at the lyrics, it says, "But you'll be all right now, sugar. You'll feel better tomorrow. Come the morning light now, baby." So they'll surface for a little while, and he'll feel better in the morning because they'll take over for now. So he won't really be conscious. They'll be here for now. He won't feel anything. One of the personas enters the mirror, which is symbolic because a mirror only points to these split personalities, and it's just very symbolic within this world. So whenever you see these celebrities in front of a shattered or a cracked mirror, that's literally the shattering of them and their identity and their personalities. So then you see glass balls, and a glass or a crystal ball is a very common occult symbol. You see it all of the time in things like prophesying, different things that seem silly but are actually taken very seriously within this world. It also could allude to going through the looking glass, an MKUltra thing from Alice in Wonderland, given the context, and we'll see the context in a second, of him being like kind of in therapy and him remembering things and passing through some sort of spiritual gateway, if you will. So you see him in therapy. Well, it seems like therapy. His hands are shaking. You see a woman with a cat. All the while, it seems like he's remembering the green version of himself, the demonic version of himself underground. So it's obvious the woman is doing something to him because he's reacting very violently, more violently I've ever seen anyone really react in therapy, although you're not really sure whether it's a welcome thing or a bad thing. He seems to smile at one point, but it's unclear. And the whole time she's holding this cat, and it seemed purposeful. So a cat could have many implied meanings. First of all, when you're looking at MKUltra, a cat with a celebrity, or a celebrity wearing leopard print, for instance, means they're a beta kitten and they're the sex slave. And I would just say there's enough pictures that I think it would be safe to assume he most likely went through beta kitten programming. Cats could also refer to passing through some sort of spiritual barrier, a gate, and that could be it, given the crystal ball, mystical kind of imagery we saw before. And then the handshaking turns into him basically like having a seizure. The woman puts a hand on his forehead to calm him or to do something to him. And all the while that this is happening, it flashes back to his other demonic persona. So he's either remembering this, being made aware of this version of himself, and she seems to be placating him or enabling him. So these people who are around them, they don't actually help them. They just let them have enough sanity to be able to stay programmed. But they're just enabling them to be programmed. They're not actually helping them. I've seen it a lot in different celebrity pairs. Actually, back in the 50s, you see Judy Garland being a huge MKUltra victim, a very, very sad case, and people like Frank Sinatra or Dean Martin being her enabler and just keeping her afloat. And all the while that this is going on, you keep hearing, don't cry tonight. Then you go back to Stephanie at the picnic. And an Axel, all dressed in black, he gets out of the car holding a cane. And, this is yet another split-off personality of Axel, but given the timing of everything, it seems as if this version of Axel arrives to free the green Axel, because he goes over to the grave, and just when he does that, you see green Axel going into the light after this dove. You see a dove fly up, and a dove can represent healing, salvation, or resurrection, but given that he's dead, technically dead, he's in a grave, and it seems like he's going to rise out of the grave, it's most likely resurrection that is meant here. And then, right as that happens, this baby surfaces from water. It has green eyes now instead of blue eyes, and it seems as if that represents the rebirth of Axel, the green Axel, most specifically because of the continuity of colors. And rebirth is a very important theme with the occult elite, and Freemasonry, and all of these different types of things. You've got Phoenix rising, huge symbols. And so given that the baby surfaces from water, it seems to be a baptism of sorts. And into what specifically Axel was baptized, only he knows. we can guess, we can postulate, and I myself personally am pretty sure that his quote-unquote rebirth has to do with MKUltra and programming, and it's very sad. And but yeah, this is my interpretation of the very first video in the trilogy through the lens of MKUltra. And I hope you liked this. I hope this was informative to you. I hope you think through these things and research them for yourselves and come to your own conclusions about what exactly is true here. And stay tuned for the next video.